Happy Tuesday. You guys know I'm always busy with recordings and live streams on Tuesdays. We have Tip Tuesdays, we've got partner spotlights, we've got cool tool reviews, and we have our podcast on Tuesdays. So it's a busy day, but lots of value, and today's no different. I am here with my friend Ivan from SellerPlex, and we're going to talk about something that all of us struggle with. And that is inventory management and staying in stock, especially right now, which is really, really just a crazy time. People are wondering, do I increase my price? I paid so much more for shipping. What do I do? Like, my stuff is stuck at the port. It can't get off the boat, and a lot of people don't know, I learned from SellerPlex a long time ago that there's actually people that can do this hard work for you and help you manage it. So it's really cool, and I know that that Ivan's going to give us a lot of value today. So before we get into that, Ivan, not everybody knows you, so let's just start by you telling everybody who you are and a little bit about your background and how you got into this whole e-commerce thing.
Yeah, hey Amy, hey everyone. Thanks for the intro. So, currently I'm a head of the supply chain management department and a junior partner at SellerPlex. But my career kind of started back in 2008, and there's been a lot of logistics and supply chain related stuff. So I started working as a buyer for an importer here in St. Petersburg, where I'm from Russia, and then moved to LA for a few years, went to school there, got hired by like a big logistics corporate type of firm, managing like big guys like logistics, like Starbucks, Costco kind of clientele. And then worked for a couple of years after that for like a smaller family owned forwarder, which was a lot of fun. It was like it was a good times and good experience as well. And then at some point back in 2015, moved back to St. Petersburg, started my own e-com brand. So I'm like a private label seller as well. And back in 2018, I met Nate and started helping other sellers with mainly their supply chain management needs. At that point, SellerPlex was just starting up. And then by now, we've kind of matured. We have a pretty big team and provide a few services, and supply chain management being one of the core services. And it kind of feels like we've seen it all by now, but I mean, always trying to still kind of grow and improve. But it does feel like we've seen all different kind of circumstances, different kind of issues, and helped a handful of clients, like more than a handful, like currently handling maybe about 30 clients plus with their supply chain needs. And one thing I'd like to mention regarding the subject point of just kind of staying in stock, right? So with multiple clients, we've seen this issue like at the beginning when we start helping them, like they have this problem, and some entrepreneurs don't realize how much effect this problem can have on their revenues, right? So we've seen revenues over the year actually double on like multiple occasions just by solving that one problem. So
yeah, I completely agree. It's something I struggle with. I mean, I know it might seem like, we all have it all figured out, but it's every seller, whether you're new, whether you've been selling for years, it's so hard to figure everything out when it comes to your supply chain management and making sure you're staying in stock. And every time you go out of stock, I always learn this from Chelsea at So Stocked, because she does such a good job in helping us understand how to calculate our restock limits and stuff like that based on that. But every time you go out of stock, it not only impacts your ranking and everything else and your market, like your overall market. Other people can overtake you for those keywords that you might have been on page 1 for, and then you've got to re-rank, which costs extra money, right? You gotta like relaunch every time you run out of stock to regain that market traction that you got. So that costs you extra money. So now you're taking 2 steps back. Not only that, when you're out of stock of these products, Amazon limits the amount that you can put back in because they saw that you were out of stock, right? And because that goes into your restock calculations. So the whole thing, like you said, Ivan, is impacted. And if we can do anything, you said you managed inventory for companies like Costco and Starbucks. Can we just put something into your brain and just suck out all of those processes that you learned? Because those kind of companies, they didn't grow to that level without figuring out inventory management. And it's a humongous thing. It's a humongous business process. And we as e-commerce business owners, we have to figure it out. We have to master this. So I'm so excited for you to be here today to get into this and to teach us what we can do. I just want to say hi real quick to a few people. We have Christina Cha here, and we've got Tim Windsor, we've got Anna. Everybody is here saying hello. Thank you, Tim. You're on your drive home. So, so great to see all of you here. All right, without further ado, I suppose, Ivan, are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right. I'm going to show your screen here. And yeah, let's do it. We see subjects to cover today.
All right. So yeah, once again, main subject is generally how to stay in stock in this current market context, right?
And so, did you want to hit the present button?
Sure. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Cool. Yeah. That way we can see it in full screen.
Yep.
There we go. It looks great.
Yeah. So, currently and throughout, 2021, for sure, supply chain overall, international supply chain has been in crisis. So I'm going to touch on that quickly at the beginning and just from high level overview, what's causing this crisis. And then again, from high level, discuss principles that we want to apply when we plan our inventory. And then get into some specifics, share some tips, tricks on how to run your supply chain more effectively with that kind of main goal of just staying in stock, but at the same time not being overstocked, right? And then we'll dive into, and I'll show you our we developed an inventory planning tool in-house at SellerPlex. I'll kind of show you that tool and talk about how we use it in some detail, which I hope will be useful and on point for many of you guys. And then another point would be just from high level, how we think about supply chain management related KPIs and what are the main KPIs to keep in mind and keep up. So so we've already talked about about SellerPlex. So I think you guys have an idea of our context. So to start the presentation, so regarding the overall supply chain crisis, right? So let's just recap what's going on, right? So we have seen just a crazy outstanding kind of surge in rates. So we've seen just crazy high rates this year, right? So container rates have gone up to $30,000 plus per container, which is just has been unheard of in the past. So last time something this happened was around 2015, and at that point rates went up to like 5,000, which we thought was just too high at that time. But compared to what we've seen this year, it was nothing, right? And so some other things that we've seen, not only rates are so high, we've also seen all kinds of capacity issues and shortages throughout the supply chain. So starting with a lack of containers at the origin in Asia and China specifically, and then ports being congested all over the world, really, in China, in the US, in Europe. And then another problem is human resource shortages, right? So there's just not enough workers. And so in terms of like what's causing these, I mean, definitely the pandemic has been like one of the main factors. And so specifically just the volatility and like unpredictable demand throughout the supply chain. So I think overall on a macro level and on a micro level at your business's level, right? The supply chain is all about creating a balance, right? So when the pandemic hit, that balance just the entire supply chain went out of balance. There was like just volatile demand. U.S. market was expected to be in crisis and was expected, as people were not working, companies and suppliers were expecting lower demand, but on the other hand, that was the other way around, right? So it was just demand went up for specific product groups, and that just created an off balance. And that demand was unstable and volatile, not only in the United States but throughout the world. And then so the carriers ended up sending number of containers to these odd places like in Africa as well and US. And with that, there's just been like too much demand and not enough supply, right? And if put simply. At the destination, again, we've seen like port capacity shortages, contemporary ports like Port of LA, right? It's a modern port, but it's really big. It's just huge. I used to live over in Long Beach and just seeing it with my own eyes, just like enormous size. But it's like not enough space and not enough capacity to process all of the container volume. And the same with human resources. So with the pandemic, there's been just like shortages of truckers, shortages of workers on both sides of the ocean. So this is how we kind of ended up was where we are today. And just to highlight also, we are seeing some positive trends in terms of rates. So rates are going down, thankfully. It is expected that, in Q4, rates are going to go up again. And then there's going to be some fluctuation around Chinese New Year. But overall, we are seeing some positive movements in terms of the market getting easier, and so that's a good thing. So to move forward and talk about inventory planning principles.
Ivan, I wanted to just add that another thing that's also happening that we've noticed is not only have shipping rates increased for freight, but they've also increased for LTL and ground freight. So like UPS and FedEx domestic freight carriers, those rates have sometimes doubled or tripled, which is causing grocery prices to go up in the United States, as well as pretty much the price of all goods. So I'm putting a question out there to the group. Have you had to increase your prices due to these increased shipping rates? And you'll notice, you guys, if you create a shipment to Amazon from domestically, like from the US, from your warehouse or something to Amazon, those rates have doubled and sometimes even tripled. So that's really, it's not only impacting us from getting our goods to wherever they're going, but then also ground freight from point A to point B, like from your warehouse to Amazon, and also direct to consumer. So if you're shipping or merchant fulfilling, your FBA rates may go up because those rates have increased as well. So don't be afraid to increase your prices accordingly, because the entire market is probably going to be forced to increase their prices, as we've already seen. Have you noticed that as well, Ivan?
Yeah, definitely great point. And it's kind of tricky in terms of increasing prices, and just making sure and at some point, really, any market niche with current costs going up has to change their prices, and increase the rates. So totally all, following your point. And another thing that kind of came to mind that I forgot to mention is, aside from rates, all the capacity issues has caused space allocation and really crazy delays, throughout the supply chain. And so that is a separate issue on its own. So you, even paying this kind of premium rates, you're not guaranteed container space. You're not guaranteed that your container or an LCL or even an air shipment is going to get there on time. And that becomes its own challenge when you're planning inventory. So yeah, to chat about high-level principles, and so here I thought of a few of three main principles, right? So starting with accurate data, and so specifically, while managing an e-com specific supply chain, you want to arrive to an accurate snapshot of your inventory levels kind of throughout your supply chain, right? So you want to know exactly how much inventory, like on a per SKU level, you have, at the origin, in production, in transit, at your warehouses, wherever they are, and also sellable in Amazon or other channels. And so once you have that accurate data, you want to also analyze it at an expert level and make decisions such as how much to reorder, kind of when to reorder, what shipping mode to use, whether or not we want to push shipping forward or maybe slow it down. In some cases that may be applicable. So just accurate data and related analysis is very important. And then a second item would be just time. Time is very important, right? When you're managing a supply chain, like timely decisions and then also like actions and just like making it happen in a timely manner, is definitely crucial. And then having a good level of control is also super important, right? So specifically what it means, like how to apply it. So with your inventory, you just want to stay on top of it, right? And that mentioned inventory report or inventory snapshot, you want to or we recommend to do it on a weekly basis. So for most businesses, it does make sense to do it on a weekly basis, just to maintain that level of control, right? So just stay on top of your sales trends, to stay on top of any delays, and to make your decisions accordingly and act accordingly. So I hope it'll make sense. So let me move forward. If any questions, yeah, let me know. So I'm gonna show you our inventory planning tool. And kind of jumping ahead a bit, we're going to talk about Amazon management or supply chain management KPIs, right? So I have it up here. And by the way, we're going to have these slides available for download. And so you can open this tool just by following the link here. So this is an inventory management tool that we use at SellerPlex. And so to just chat about kind of the tools that we use and how we arrived at that. So we think that these templates and the sheets are actually like a pretty good solution. So there are very good softwares out there. So mentioned SoStocked, heard a lot of great things, like looked into it as well. And as understood, it's a great tool. And there are some other tools out there that are good for inventory management. The only downside that we notice around these tools that if you have to like customize them, if your supply chain is somewhat complicated, it may cost you, or it may be not possible with just a standard kind of tool out there. So yeah, so this template is semi-automated. So I feel like it's a good balance between efficiency and then also applying manual data analysis. So what's happening here is, so we have your SKU list, right? And then we are looking at your entire, we are looking at the supply chain, just breaking it down, right? So looking at what you have on Amazon via the related reports. So we look at what's in available, reserved, total, looking at what's going inbound. So also pulling from a Amazon restock report, and yeah, just looking at what's set to go in, and then also inserting the data from your warehouses, the 3PLs. So if you have like multiple, you can add some columns here, or we can do it for you, and just pull that data from a related tab. And then an important part would be your POs that haven't yet landed, right? So we look at and pull the PO data from this secondary tab here, where we maintain the PO list. So it will have the status per PO and some useful information that we want to have visible while we are making supply chain management decisions and just working it, right? So like a PO reference, number of units per carton, some case pack, weight information. Also good to know and track your estimated ready date, estimated like ETA if it's already in transit, things like Incoterm, and just track related shipment info. And so once the status changes from production to transit, it changes here as well. And once it arrives, it just goes into sellable, right? Or into your 3PL. So further, we break it down, your entire supply chain, into days of stock, right? So in order to do that, we need to understand how much you're selling per day, and what is the number, what is the figure that you want to use? Like what is the figure that you want to use for this calculation? So the method that we use by default is we look at 7, 30, 90 days trends, also pulled from Amazon reports. And so just to quickly mention, right? So I think when you're working something like this, it's important. So the amount of data can get pretty large. So it's important to have the system so that you can efficiently pull this all together, right? So it shouldn't take more than 15 minutes to half an hour to put it together. Ideally, less than 10 minutes. So I think via just like dropping, like pulling those reports and dropping it into this tool, we can arrive to that sort of efficiency. And further, like when we are analyzing the sales trends, so that is a tricky part, right? So if the sales trend is stable, then there's no problem, right? It's easy, right? So you just take your max or an average of your kind of stable sales trend. But if your sales trend is unstable, that's when you have to think like, what is the figure that you want to use, right? So, and here we apply the system of factors, right? So we adjust the factor up or down depending on the context of a changing sales trend. So for instance, right, if we see that, or if we know or see that in the last 7 days, your sales went significantly down, and maybe we know that you're out of stock, right? And just measuring that effect on your sales trend and applying a larger factor would be applicable. So meaning, if your sales trends are down because of the out of stock, we want to apply maybe a higher daily sales. And then the other way around, maybe we see that lately your sales are just going crazy, and maybe we know why, right? Maybe there was a specific promotion, or like an influencer posted something about your product. And if you think that this is a temporary trend, we can also adjust the sales the daily sales number down if you think that's applicable. And so that gives us a breakdown of days worth of stock within your pipeline. And here that's kind of when the work starts, right? So I guess first of all, this tool will allow to understand when we need to reorder and how much. But then also, like if you're talking about days worth of stock, if you're seeing that and maybe forecasting an out of stock in the US or within Amazon, we can make certain decisions, right? So maybe we can push a supplier for faster production date. Maybe we can like skip QC for that one time when we are facing an out of stock potentially, right? Maybe we choose a faster shipping mode. Could be air or could be just like a faster ocean mode. So there are things we can do if we foresee an out of stock situation.
So how do people know, Ivan, how to put the right numbers into here? Because obviously it's all working off of formulas. And if I'm not a master of inventory management, or I'm a new seller and I'm, I maybe don't know what my numbers in terms of, what I can do, when I can have it, all of my lead times, like having all of that in there. How do you recommend, is there any kind of guidance that comes along with your inventory tracker that gives them ideas of how to put in the right numbers? Because if you put in the wrong numbers, you're not going to get the right estimates of what to order and when to order, right?
So yeah, let me elaborate on that. Thank you for the question. So in this part, the numbers like days worth of stock, they do pop via formula. All right. So what we are doing is we are inserting the inventory levels in this section, right? And then the sales levels and sales trends in these. So we don't really change anything in this tab. We drop the data in this additional tabs where it pulls from into this kind of main master tab. If that makes sense.
So is the key in managing your inventory to understand when you need to reorder? Like, what are the main reasons that people are running out of stock?
So yeah, just the understanding of when to reorder and how much is the first step, and then just working your supply chain. So there are certain nuances, right, that we can kind of further discuss. But generally speaking, the main reason why most people run out is just lack of overall balance, right, and lack of good understanding of when to reorder and how much. So to talk about that more and a little bit more. So first of all, like before even doing all this, you do want to look at your entire supply chain and break it down, right? And think about how much time does it take to produce your product, right? How much time does it take to like book a container, run a QC check, actually ship it out? How much time does it take on water? How much time does it take to clear the goods? Are there, is it going via 3PL? If it is, how quick is your 3PL to receive, work the goods and then ship out? Are there any delays? Are you seeing any delays at Amazon? And so, and that allows to calculate a good lead time, like from the point of PO placement to the point of when your product arrives to Amazon and becomes sellable. And so you want to have that figure. So currently, I want to say it's for most, if you're shipping via ocean and if your goods take about a month or 40 days to produce, current lead time is maybe about 120 days or so, depending on the shipping mode. And so you want to take that and then also account for delays, foreseen and also unforeseen delays. So add some buffer on top of that lead time, calculate it. And then also you want to have somewhere between 30 to 60 days or so in addition, right? So to that figure determines like how much stock do you want to have in Amazon on top of your lead time. That makes sense. So historically, for most sellers, this figure was like about 160, 180 days. So that historically has been a KPI of how many days worth of stock total do we want to have in the supply chain. And then currently, with all the delays and problems, it kind of went up to 200 plus, 210 for some sellers. It makes sense to go even higher than that. But at the same time, you want to be kind of tracking it fluently and see how it changes. So if you see that your lead time becomes less, and if your shipping issues are like, say if there's like some of the shipping issues are getting resolved, you want to adjust it down too. So you do want to have that ongoing control over your KPIs and be flexible with it, right? And the reason is because if you're keep it high at like 120 days, when in fact you can lower it to like 180, for instance, it means that you can save in terms of how much inventory you have in your entire pipeline, and that means better cash flow, less money being kind of stuck in your inventory and being spent on your inventory. So that's obviously super important, and that's how I recommend to think about it. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's I think it'll make more sense when people actually dig into it and try it for themselves. So I put the link up for you guys. SellerPlex is giving us a free copy of this tracker, which I think is really generous. So you guys can go to sellerplex.com/AMZ at home and take advantage of this offer. And there's also the slides from today as well. So if inventory management is something that you struggle with, this is a really great opportunity to take advantage of and start tracking these things so that hopefully, despite delays that we can't really have control over, hopefully at least we know when to order and how much to order and when we need it by.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Like we don't have control over some of these macro level processes and don't have control over the ports, but there are things we can do to still avoid out of stock. Essentially, order up, but still, again, not too much. Right? And really track your these KPIs of how many days worth of stock do you want to have total, and then also on a per per section of your supply chain. So how many days worth of stock do you want to have in Amazon, at your domestic warehouses, just to have enough in case your sales start turning up, or enough to restock your Amazon levels, and then overall within the supply chain. And then speaking about KPIs, there's a number of KPIs that we can come up with when we talk about the supply chain, but the two main ones are, how many days worth of stock, and then also costs, right? So supply chain management is obviously a big cost center for most e-com sellers, or all the e-com sellers. So costs are definitely like a second KPI they want to think about. And so same thing, like this tool does come useful. So if we see that we do have enough, maybe for a particular SKU or a set of SKUs in Amazon and at your 3PL kind of combined, maybe this time we don't have to push the shipping. And usually, the slower the shipping, usually the less you pay, right? So maybe this time we can choose a full container, just basic ocean shipping, or if you're shipping from multiple or buying from multiple suppliers at the origin, and maybe normally shipping via LCL or like less than container shipments or via air. If you have a chance to kind of slow things down, it means that you may have an opportunity to consolidate your shipments into a single, bigger full container shipment, ideally. and that comes with great savings, right? So that kind of moving on to different like tips and tricks that we can apply and recommend while you're managing your supply chain. So yeah, to save on costs, one of the main tactics that we recommend is think about whether or not you can consolidate your smaller shipments into bigger ones. And this year specifically, it just hasn't been more cost effective ever to do that. So meaning specifically, we've seen or have arrived to savings of about like 15,000 per consolidation, like per one container consolidation, which is definitely significant. Even if you're able to save like $1,000 per container, I think it's already significant, like even in this market, right? Meaning that you're not only saving like $1,000 today. If you're able to do it on a repeat basis, multiply by the number of containers you're shipping, but then also in terms of the effect of this savings on your overall business value is tremendous, right? So if you're looking to exit your business sometime in the future, maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now, your business is valued on a basis of a last 12 month. And so if you're able to save like $1,000 on a monthly basis, it turns into $12,000 on a yearly basis, and that multiplies by like 5 or 6x's this day. So just by saving like $1,000 per month, you can add about $50,000 to your overall business value in the event of an exit. So yeah, that kind of just gives a certain perspective on how important these cost optimizations can be for your business value. So yeah, to chat about some specific strategies of how to avoid running out of stock. So this page talks about just a few things around creating inventory balance. So which is super important. All right. So, and just like a general point that I'd like to deliver is just really want to strive for having a well-balanced supply chain. There's a point about the KPIs that we discussed and reviewing them as transit times change. But then also you want to think about your internal processes, right? And you want to facilitate good communication between whoever is managing your supply chain and your marketing side of the business, right? So specifically, how we do it. So we like to have weekly calls. So like on a weekly basis, we'll do the inventory report that I was showing earlier, and then prepare a set of recommendations and analyze the report and just understand what we need to do in the next few days, whether or not we need to reorder, whether or not we need to ship anything into Amazon, and then get on a call with the owner in charge, right? And discuss the inventory snapshot, but then also get aligned on marketing related activities, right? So you want to tell your supply chain expert or supply chain manager if there are any future promotions that you're planning, if you're maybe looking to advertise more heavily in the next few months. So you want to make sure that if you are advertising heavily, that you have enough stock, right? And in order to make it happen, your entire business need to be aligned. That helps to apply proper analysis to sales trends and also the seasonality, right? So your marketing side, should have a better understanding of your seasonality, and just make sure that your inventory is aligned towards sales trends and the season per SKU. So, and then further to chat about some specific tricks. So here, this is something I briefly mentioned. If you are looking to avoid out of stock and looking for speed and also space, right? So there's a quick ocean LCL option these days, which is fairly new. So in the past, less than container shipments used to take significantly longer than full container shipments, because you have to take the time to staff the container, deconsolidate it, and then now they're actually quick ocean LCL options. Specifically, you want to ask your forwarder about Matson if you're not familiar, or if you're not using this option, suggesting to inquire about it. So essentially, it's going to be more expensive than a normal ocean LCL, but definitely much less expensive than air. So it's a good kind of option if you're thinking, if you need a fast, to fast track your PO, but not willing to go with the air, with the air mode. And so, if you have to use air, if you understand that you're facing out of stock, suggesting to definitely apply a method where you split your PO. So don't ship everything. Just ship only the part that you need in order to stay in stock before the ocean part arrives, right? So there's some so you have to also apply an analysis and calculate properly how much to ship via air to avoid overpaying there. Another thing is to just always shop around. So we've used to recommend it before the crisis. Now it's also more relevant than ever, right? Because the market is so crazy, you want to ask multiple forwarders for multiple options, right? And you want to not only consider the rate, but then also shop for space allocations, because that has been an issue, and then also routings. Right. So to elaborate there, so with the rates, I think it's pretty clear. You just kind of cost compare and choose an optimal option. With space and routings, so with the routings, you can get pretty creative these days, right? And you want to really be proactive and ask your forwarder for routing options. So again, there has been problems at both in China in both China and US, in terms of some ports are more congested than others. So generally speaking, you want to try to avoid the congested areas, because it's going to come with higher costs and then also longer transit times, right? So for instance, some things that we've done this year. For instance, you may be used to shipping from the closest port, from the port closest to your supplier, right? And you just always ship from there, and that's a typical routing, right? But then that port of may be congested this day, so you may want to truck your goods to the next port over, and maybe overpay on trucking a bit, but save on the ocean freight and rate, and then also transit time. So specifically, one of our customers, always used to ship from Xiamen. That port was really congested. We ended up going via port of Fuzhou, which is a few 100 miles away, paying like extra, like a couple $100 extra on trucking, but ended up saving, I want to say about 2,000 or 2,500 on the ocean part of the freight. And that happens a lot, like with all the different kinds of routings. Same thing at the destination. If you can avoid a lay, then do it. Right? You can go to Northern California. You can go to Seattle. There's there's Portland in Oregon. That's an active port, and then also you can go even via Canada. I mean, it's going to depend on the context of a business and the context of your supply chain. But you can, even go to Port of Vancouver and ship through there, and just go into US through Canada, and sometimes it does make sense. And then I guess to also cover what I mean in terms of shopping for space. So you do want to have you don't want to ask your forwarder for forwarders or multiple forwarders for options about 7 to 10 business days before your PO is ready, and just have at least a couple of options lined up. So in case one of your forwarders tells you, all right, there's no space, or this booking is getting rolled or whatnot, you can choose another forwarder, and you should have that second option available, right? And in terms of space, I mean, I'm sure many of you have heard this from your forwarders, that there's just no space on this vessel. We have to roll your cargo to the next week, and that kind of sucks, right? Especially if your product if you're running out. And you just have to understand that there's always space, right? And it's just a matter of whom it was given to. So you can push your forwarder. You can ask, whether or not I can maybe pay a premium if you're ready to do that. But then more effectively, you want to just, again, have multiple options. And then another kind of nuance or trick is to try to work with China-based forwarders these days, right? So to elaborate on that, in the past, I actually personally used to recommend to work with US-based forwarders, because you do get better service, less issues with customs clearance when it arrives to the destination, just better control. But these days, it does actually make sense to work with China-based forwarders, because they're kind of more hands-on with container bookings. And when you're working with your US forwarder, they essentially also go to their Chinese agent, right? And it just may take too much time for the back and forth, and just for a certain message to go through the communication chain. And these days, it's crucial to confirm space and confirm space options in a timely manner, like same day, ideally. If your cargo is ready to ship, if you're know that you have to make a decision, you want to make it on almost in the same day when you're given a good option, just to not lose that space that's being offered. So yeah, and then just to speak about the routings a bit further.
Ivan, I would love, we're at 47 minutes, so I would love to make sure, I don't know how many more slides we have, but I also want to give you a chance to be able to tell people how they can contact you and everything else.
Okay. Thank you. Oh yeah. Thanks. I mean, that was the last point of the presentation. So yeah, I guess just to quickly, I guess routings is a good thing to look into when you're thinking about optimizing your supply chain.
Yeah, I think it's
with that said,
I think it's really smart to both shop around for rates. Suppliers sometimes already have space on their, like they've already purchased space. So you might be able to utilize that. We were able to save some money going through our suppliers. Sometimes it worked out better. Sometimes it didn't, depending on how reliable the space that they purchased was. And then, playing around with different routing options. There's different ports, different things that you can do. I know a lot of people are going through the port of LA and they're used to that, but there may be other ports that can be helpful that way, right? And then with ground freight too, it's helpful to utilize different areas of the country to store your stuff. A lot of people will store it in LA because that's what's closest to the port. But there's a lot of other storage options across the country outside of LA that are really good, and warehouses that have multiple distribution centers associated with them. So yeah, completely agree on shopping around, and that's super, super smart.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So, and we put up the link as far as like if people want to get the inventory tracker plus these slides, they can go to sellerplex.com AMZATHOME. And you can contact Ivan at Ivan@SellerPlex.com. Anything else you want to tell us today, Ivan?
No, I'm good. I think we've covered a lot. There's definitely a lot more that could be discussed, and open to any questions. I mean, do we have the time, or should we, have a Q&A? Or if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email. Happy to respond.
Yes, and I just want to give a little plug for SellerPlex. You guys specifically, you're offering a free supply chain assessment. So what does that entail?
Oh, so yeah, we can run a like an audit of your supply chain, analyze just kind of from high level what's happening, take a look at your costs, and prepare a set of recommendations of how to optimize how we would kind of run it. And then from there, you can either execute on it on your own, or hire our team to do it for you. So I think we are really good at running the supply chain kind of done for you style. So for a lot of sellers out there, we just know that it's not fun, right? This is not the fun part of the process. You kind of
Yeah. Don't you guys offer, you have supply chain managers on your team that people can, and I'll hide this and we can go back to just us on screen here. But you guys have supply chain managers on your team that people can hire to work for them, for their business. You guys do this stuff. I love the way Nate puts it. You guys do the stuff that people don't like to do. So I love that. It's great. So if people are looking for help with supply chain management, not only can you do an audit and help them understand that, you're offering the free inventory tracker, but also they can hire an inventory supply chain manager right from SellerPlex, right?
Yeah, exactly. And our supply chain team is consists of supply chain experts, so they don't have to be trained. They know what they're doing. We have a good kind of streamlined process of onboarding, and you just pretty confident about this. We are good at this, and we've seen literally like some businesses like turn things around with their sales, and really literally double the sales just by letting experts on our team handle their supply chain and resolving the out of stock problem for them.
Awesome. So I put your email up on the screen as well as the web address. And I just want to thank you, Ivan, for being here today. And thanks everyone for listening in and learning a little bit more about how to manage your inventory. Take advantage of this really awesome offer from SellerPlex to have your supply chain audited, get help on it. It's free. You have nothing to lose there and everything to gain. So check it out. Go to SellerPlex.com/AMZATHOME. And we'll see you guys next time. And later today on the Seller Roundtable podcast in 1 hour, we'll see you there. You guys can go to SellerRoundtable/SellerRoundtable.com/live at 3 p.m. Central Time. And we'll see you then. All right. Thank you so much, Ivan, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Cheers. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.